I'm excited because we get a chance to talk about the instructional routine that is really helpful to introduce a word. You might not do all of this in one fell swoop, right? You might introduce a little bit and then drip it out or interleave it over time. So today, the routine I'm going to do from beginning to end just as a demonstration with the word interleave. Say that word with me.
Interleave.
Yeah, so let's clap the syllables. Ready?
Interleave.
Tell your shoulder partner how many syllables. That's right. Excellent. Okay, so now let's call our pet. Let's see if we can figure out what syllable is accented. Ready? Interleave. First, second, or third? What did you hear? That's the one that went up. And so the first two happen actually to be morphemes together. Inter is a morpheme that's has its own part, and leave right in there. So there are morphemes, there are 3 syllables, 2 morphemes, and I noticed that, well, let's look at the orthographic form of that word now. Interleave, and there's an E at the end of that word. Why is that? I think we know that from Unit 3, right, in letters. Just take a moment and tell again your table partner, why is the E in the end of that word? Yeah, so our words, I hear you saying it, don't end in a V. That's right, the V would fall down. So we have about 6 jobs for the letter E in our language. In this instance, is trying to keep that word from ending in a V. How are we going to know that we have the EA as a vowel team? Couldn't it be something different? What are other ways to spell E? E-E? E, it could just be E-V-E in this word too, yeah. So how are we going to remember that it's EA in interleave? You need to see it in print. That's why kids need to read widely once they've got that code, right? Yep, we estimate that it takes 1 to 4 attempts for a typical reader that has this superhighway hardwired to hardwire and then get the visual word form area to represent the word interleave instantaneously without having to kind of really work through that slowly. But we need multiple exposures. And of course, reading it is very helpful. Spelling it is really the icing on the cake. So now we know exactly what vowel team is in that leave part right in here. Now, it's a Latin word. The prefix inter means between or among, from the Old English leave, meaning in the sense to remain in the same state or condition of something. It also is related to the word interweave. Can you say that word?
Interleave.
Yeah, and I see Gwen going like this, kind of like, yeah. What made you go like that, Gwen?
Just thinking about there's some kind of intersection or interleaving happening, overlapping.
Yeah, and you know, in Old English, this came from Old English in the 1500s, meant at that point formed by interlacing yarn. So it was a literal yarn, interlacing of yarn, and now we're thinking more about ideas and things we want to remember. So other forms of this word could be interleave, interleaved, interleaving, interleaves. They're all an action. They're a verb, right? That's the role that it takes here. And note that at the very end, if we have interleaves, that's an inflectional ending. It doesn't change that part of speech right in here. But I'm going to define interleave for us here. So let's take a moment and think about this as a verb. And I'm going to use what it is and then give a little bit more. I'll say, and then I'll have you say it with me. Okay? So interleave is a learning technique that involves spaced practice of 2 or more related subjects or skills leading to consolidated learning. That's a mouthful. So I'm going to do it and parse it out with us, okay? And the reason that I'm asking you to say this with me is much like if I were a teacher in a classroom. When you hear yourself and you move your mouths, it's much more likely you'll make a memory trace of what we're trying to work with. So interleave is a learning technique that involves spaced practice of 2 or more related subjects or skills. Want to try that in a little different parsing? I should have asked you, do you want the fast speed or the slow speed one? Here we go. Interleave is a. Now we won't do that. That'll take us forever. Let's try this though. Interleave is a learning technique. That involves spaced practice of 2 or more related subjects or skills. Leading to consolidated learning.
leading to consolidated learning.
Mwah, kiss your brains. That was beautiful. There we go. That's the semantics, right? That student-friendly definition. Now, I'm going to say a little bit more about that word. So it's a lot of wah, wah, wah. Tiana felt much more knowledgeable and prepared when training LETRS Unit 2. Yay! After interleaving, what's that word? Interleave. The presentation of other LETRS units, as well as reading Speech to Print, Kilpatrick's Essentials, and Gail Gillen's Phonological Awareness from Research to Practice, right? Interleaving, say that?
Interleave.
Now, this one says, when studying for his final exam on rivers, Jovan interleaved, what was that word?
Interleave.
The topics of earthquakes and droughts with rivers. Although mixing these related topics kind of felt more difficult and inefficient, his extra retrieval work strengthened his ability to remember much more about rivers, and consequently, he aced his final exam, right? So that's interleaving. Let's try this one here. As the singer attempted to memorize a solo piece, she interleaved singing the entire piece, alternating with a focus on shorter sections, singing scales, oh, well, you don't want me singing, can't sing, and retrieving from memory the lyrics without the music. Interleave.
Interleave.
The basketball player wished to increase her free throw percentage. In addition to primarily practicing stationary shooting from the free throw line, can you tell that I don't play basketball? She practiced shooting from many different positions on the court and in many different contexts. Over time, her practice, that practice led to an increase in her overall free throw percentage. What's the word we just worked with?
Interleave.
There you go. Now I'm going to ask you some yes or no questions. Yes, thumbs up. Go ahead and say yes. No, thumbs down. Okay? Are students engaged in interleaved practice when they cram for a calculus exam? Yes, no. Go ahead and you can say no as well, right? No, yeah, I hear that. Yeah, I agree with you. And I used to do that all the time. That's right. Is a football player who incorporates ballet, Pilates, and yoga into a training regime interleaving? Yes. Yeah. And I think those are probably really good choices, right? Absolutely. Well, what about writing vocabulary words 10 times each? Is that interleaving? You all knew that right away. Try this one. If you want to be a concert pianist, would it be a good idea to interleave knitting, stamp collecting, and painting? Why not? Oh, Stacer, go ahead, loud and proud. What is that again?
Not related skills.
Oh, so that wouldn't work for the pianist, but it did work for the basketball player. It would work for the football player because we were talking about skills that were related. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, great. What word are we working with?
Interleave.
So now, of course, we want that in our lexicon. So for frequent distributed practice or interleaving this word, I'm going to wear it, right? So we have this, or sometimes I may have my students wear this. Interleave is the word we're going to be focusing on, and it's the importance of how we weave all this information and information that's similar to it all throughout LETRS to help our students really improve their ability to read and to write. But what we're doing now is thinking about this word in a sentence. So I want you to think about the word interleave, and I want you to create a sentence. Go ahead and write it down, and I want it to be at least a Super 7 sentence, which means at least 7 words. And you can't say, I interleave today. That's not the correct use of that word, right? Yeah. Often uses that action, that verb. Go ahead and write that sentence. Think of a skill, something you'd like to improve professionally, personally, whatever context you like. Okay. And of course, I'm reminded, right, this is a word for us as professionals, as educators, right? Our content word, we would use this kind of a format for students with our students' vocabulary, which will be Of course, we've done a little bit as a demonstration in Unit 1 long ago, and we'll do it again in Unit 5. Okay. Give me a little thumbs up when you feel ready with that sentence. Okay.